up? Anybody? Not yet? Okay. Linda, how's your experience been? We're not started yet, just so you know, I'm just kind of talking. So Linda, how was your experience submitting that offer or offers?
Many offers. Just hard to get accepted, but just have to go in there a little bit more aggressive. The offers, I got 6 offers accepted, but it's a battle out there in the market right now.
It is, and we're going to be talking a lot about that and how we stay professional, how we stay prepared, proactive throughout the period, because our clients, and we're going to talk about this, but Linda, would you agree that our clients are at like the highest emotion ever right now in this market because they're so exhausted from submitting so many offers?
Yeah, I had one that she went MIA for like 4 months.
Just to reset.
But I just kept communication, kept sending her homes. And again, we went to see another home. Finally, after 4 months, submitted an offer, didn't get it. MIA me for another month. And today I actually have a showing with her today. So all I'm doing is trying to find the homes that would interest her, email her, touch base, call her. I'm constantly like at least, you know, I don't want to stalk her now, but at least once a week I'm touching and asking her, hey, you know, did you see some of the emails that I sent you? Is there anything else that you would like to set up an appointment with? I really feel this home is something that suits both of you. Let's go ahead and see it this Saturday or this Friday. I'm available at 2 o'clock, at 12. But she already told me it's kind of hard to do multiple showings at one time. Usually I try to create a tour. I really don't want to waste my time driving 40 minutes or 30 minutes for one home. So I try to put a couple homes in a tour so that way we're maximizing the time that we have together. But she's limited to just an hour and a half a day because she takes care of her daughter, her husband works third shift, he sleeps throughout the day. So it makes it a little difficult. So I have to make sure that the homes that I'm sending her is really what she's asking to see. And it's been working out. Another one, the other offer we put in, again, it gets discouraging, and I've lost a client here and there because of that. We'll wait a couple months, you know, but I'm still touching base, sending them properties. I have them on an auto search based on the criteria they gave me, and just touching base once a week. Hey, how are you? How's everything? I sent you a couple listings. What did you think about those? Is there anything else that you have a question with? You know, some of them, one of them, their pre-qualification or pre-approval was expired. So I just went ahead and, you know, contacted their lender, asked them if they want to seek a different lender. Sometimes it makes a difference, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And we're going to probably come back to you later in the class as we start discussing this in detail. Brooke, why don't we officially launch our Ignite session?
Yes, let's do it. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Elementals 6. Let me get this up on our screen. So I'm Brooke Silva. If we have not met, I am your regional technology trainer here at Keller Williams, New England. Teaching Ignite is one of my most favorite things to do when I can do it, because I love meeting our newer agents and seeing our agents who have been here for a while come back. Now, Jen and I have a big ask of you. If you are able to put your cameras on, please do so. It is awkward sometimes as an instructor to look at a bunch of black boxes with names on it. We don't care about your hair, your pajama tops. We want to see your faces and your reactions to make sure that the things we're telling you or sharing with you are clicking and making sense. So help us help you. And also, we are huge on participation. Jen and I get all the energy from it. So raise your hand, interrupt us if something doesn't make sense, but we're here to help you grow. So Jen, who are you?
So I am Jen Bovey. I am an operating principal here in Rhode Island, and I am also the area director for the New England region. So a lot of you may have seen my face or got an email. We do something called the growth call on Mondays. Any of you here attend that call? Okay, good, because I want to invite everybody here. Brooke, We want to invite everybody here to our growth call on Mondays from 2 to 2:30. One of my favorite calls ever is our growth call. Why? Because it's a quick half-hour call. And what we do on that call is we interview a top agent or leader for informational stuff, like what is relevant in the market right now. They share some gold nuggets for about 15 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes of the call, we drop a toolkit for you to use in social media and in your business. So if you're looking for an easy button to have social media graphics, to have scripts, to have dialogues, come to this call on Mondays, 2 o'clock, every Monday, 2 o'clock, 2 to 2:30. You'll see Brooke, myself, and a guest on, and I promise you, if you haven't been going on them yet, it's definitely a value for you and your business right now. So I'm inviting all of you on here to that call starting on Monday. Would you agree, Brooke?
I agree. And, as I'm lucky enough to get to travel around and see you guys at the different market centers, often when I'm doing trainings or via Zoom, and the feedback we get from this is that I wasn't writing posts in a way that were engaging, where my community spoke back to me. And that's one of the things I love so much about the growth calls. Not only do we have fabulous guests, we give things away, but you got to be there.
Oh yeah, got that.
Right? We have giveaways. We've given away mega camp tickets. We've given away family reunion, fun books. I mean,
come in.
Count you. I know, right? So it's all there to help you grow your business. And it's literally, the stuff we give you is copy, paste, deploy. It's an easy button when it comes to social media. And sometimes it forces you guys out of your, I don't want to say stuckness, but just sold, market stats. This is helping to draw your community into you and get to know you, like you, trust you, love you. So please come to that. And on Thursdays, I do tech every Thursday, or the Nerd Herd of Keller Williams New England does. And we got fantastic classes that help you dig into your business differently than a contacts class or an opportunities class. We're teaching you theory and fun best practices, tips and tricks. So that's Thursdays at 2 o'clock.
All right, so let's dive into this Ignite session. As you guys know, we are on session 6, and we're doing make and receive offers. So you guys have been here for at least, what has it been since the 7th of March?
I think that's,
yeah, since the 7th of March. So before we dive into this, it asks here, because they give us a little guide, and I'm actually really curious. What are you guys grateful for, or what ahas have you taken away so far from Ignite? What's been the biggest aha, takeaway, action plan from Ignite so far?
I would say knowing how important your growing your contact list is.
So your database?
Database, yes.
Yeah. Brooke likes to call that your data bank. Anybody know why she calls it a data bank? That's right, because who is that? Maureen. There is money in your database. You literally have money in your database. And what a lot of times people forget, agents, don't realize when they get into real estate, is how much money is actually in this phone right here. And they try to get creative with so many different ways to get business, and the business is literally right here. So I love that point. Thank you, William, for sharing. Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi, Henry Say here. Yeah, marketing, touch points. Just with your database, you don't do anything with it, it's not going to do anything. So you got to talk to them, send them mailers, all that stuff. That's what I'm getting.
Drip campaigns and anything. Smart plans.
Right. Just
love it.
weave yourself into their lives. I
love it. Brooke, do you like that?
I do, because it's all about relationships, right? Sales is all about relationships. The widget can change, but it's the relationships that bring people back to you and send people to you. People do business with people they like, yes. Right? If you have not read Start With Why, Simon Sinek, I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite books to understand why we have to be personable and why we have to explain in different ways to our consumers why we do things and attract those people. It's a relationship game.
All right. Anyone else before we go right into what a successful agent does every day? And thank you for sharing, Henry. Keep your camera on if you can. I promise energy comes back more if we have more people with their cameras on. So I have everybody who has a camera on my first row here. So I'm sorry if I start picking on you, but I love to see you guys and see your faces. And like when Maureen was doing the money sign, I'm like, yeah, that's why we have cameras on, so we can see stuff like that. So please, if you can, put your camera on.
And
okay.
We don't care.
My breakfast.
No, we don't care. We're just jealous that we don't have breakfast because we have to talk.
I got coffee. All right. All right, Brooke, we're going to bring up the slides again?
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
Oops. All right.
Okay, so what successful agents do every day? You guys have gone through the grow side. Now we're looking at the running your business side. Today we're doing 2 and 3 on the run side. We're showing, nope, we're not. We're negotiating contracts today. You've already shown buyers some houses or whatever is left on the market. You guys seeing low inventory? It's not just Rhode Island, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. And we're going to talk a little bit more today about negotiating contracts. Okay. The process of the offer. We have the offer process itself, preparing for the offer, writing the offer, presenting the offer, responding to the offer. Oh my gosh, that Rhode Island just came out. Responding to the offer. And then we're going to go through some recaps and ahas for today. All right. Brooke, anything you want to add before we dive in?
No, just remember, guys, as you are learning, one of the biggest things we can do is help educate our buyers or sellers. And that starts here, right? So you're always going to be in consulting and education mode. Now I can't speak. Blah, 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 blah. So remember this slide. And I actually, I print this out. Like this was something we printed out when we put in our binders because we know the process. Maybe our buyers have bought a house before and know the process, but in a market like now, the process may be different. Do the same legal things have to happen? Absolutely. But now that they found what they consider their perfect home, this is what helps them start look forward to the sale of the property and help deal with all the stress right now. So let's go through this offer process.
Right. So before we do that, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. I haven't been out in the active sales field for real estate for probably about 10 years. I've been team leader and then operating principal. I still have a team. They're out there doing their thing and doing amazing stuff. There was something that I have always believed in, that if you mastered these 4 B's in real estate, that you would be successful in your transaction. So I wanted to share them with you guys. So take a pen and paper out or type it in your phone if you're techie like Brooke, or on your iPad or tablet. There's 4 B's that I always tell my teams, my market centers to do in real estate. And that is be prepared, be documented, be professional, and be proactive. If you could remember to be those 4 in every single transaction, you are going to have a smoother process, happier client, and happier co-broke every single time. What I see and what I have found, I've been in real estate for 20 years now, is that when any one of those B's gets affected, the transaction gets affected. It gets mucky. It gets a little dirty. It gets not fun. And there's stress, there's anxiety, and a lot happens in between. Being a professional and staying above the emotion and staying logical is going to make the difference in how everything transpires along the way on any part of the transaction, especially the offer part. Now I'm going to come back to this because I'll tell you right now in today's market, our buyers are at all-time fatigue, all-time stress level, and most times they take it out on who?
You look around.
Us. So what that means is that we're exhausted, we're stressed, and we could deliver that along the way if we don't remember these B's. So I'm just going to ask you along the way, if you start getting stressed at a situation where you feel anxiety on it or stressed, to the max, take a step back from it, go talk to one of your market center leadership, ask them what can we do differently? What can we do? Just take a step back from it, because I promise you in the market today, it's hard. It's just hard. It's just hard. Would you agree, Brooke?
It's so difficult right now. And things like understanding the offer process and all those B's, there are times where tensions are going to run high during a transaction right now. Whether or not your clients feel that, or it's on your side or within the market center. And having those B's and being able to communicate or look back on things that are documented are just going to help you guys. And being proactive, I can't even tell you that last one is probably the most important. And doing things like having the education, looking for patterns or shifts, or speaking with other top leaders or agents in your market center. Those are all the things to help you get proactive on these things.
Absolutely. Okay, so your buyer has found a property and they want to make an offer on it. They found one of the 5 properties active in your state and they want to make an offer on it. What happens next? So one, you want to make sure that your buyer understands how you work for them. Now that's going to be up to you and how you have had a buyer consultation. You've already went through all of those classes already. But where do you stand at the time of offer? Are you representing them? Are you a transaction facilitator? Now, every single state is different, so make sure that you follow along with your state guidelines for your forms and representation. But you do want to understand where you are in the process with that buyer. Are you representing them, or are you facilitating the transaction? Does anybody know the difference between the two?
When you represent them, they're your client. You facilitate, you just kind of doing the paperwork. You don't negotiate per se, as that, I guess. Because
Yes,
they're not really.
You're absolutely right, Henry. Yeah.
They're not your client, really. I mean, you just kind of.
So when you're facilitating, so again, every state is different. So make sure that you confirm with your state on how this works. If you are facilitating a transaction, you are treating them honestly and fairly and basically explaining paperwork to them. You cannot help them fill out that paper. You can't negotiate on their behalf. You can't pull market analysis. You can't share confidential information about the seller to them. That is a transaction facilitator in the state of Rhode Island, basically how that works. Now, like I said, just make sure you check with your state on how that works. Most states are around the same. So when you're representing them, that's when you fully represent them. You can negotiate on their best behalf. You could pull market analysis for them. You keep their information confidential and the rest of the stuff, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, fiduciary.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So when you get to the offer process, you just want to know how you are, where you stand with that buyer. Are you a facilitator or representing them? Then you walk through the whole process of what it looks like. Brooke?
So, right. So now we're getting into the negotiations, right? We've talked about emotions a little bit, but what emotions do buyers and sellers have in today's market at this stage?
I can tell you by personal, because I'm going through offers right now. We just submitted an offer last night. We made submitted offers past 3 weeks for one client. Is really negotiating, finding the right price to stand out compared to everyone else that comes in, because most places we have like 10 offers and cash offers, $50,000, $100,000 over asking.
So how do you feel? So what's the emotion that's tied to that?
Like stress is going up and down emotionally. Like I'm going up, down, like, oh yeah, we got a good offer in. But then, oh no, not good enough, because they call us back, asking for best and final. And then you kind of feel what's going on. And it's like end up 100,000, 120,000 over asking. And we're like, okay, that's crazy. So my client just gets really defeated. And we're repeating this over and over every week. So
Yeah,
it sucks.
it does.
So
And that's so
Henry,
important. It's important to note that the offer process is not always a line, right? It's not in this world that we're living in now.
Right.
When I bought my house when I was 23, I ruled the world. They wanted me to buy. Now, this could be a loop where we're in the offer process and it's just going to loop and loop until we get that close. Go ahead, Jen. I'm so sorry.
yeah, no, I was just going to say, now look at that scenario, Henry, and how could we start from the beginning? If you could start from the beginning again and be a little more proactive with your buyer, what could we do differently?
We kind of did, like, set his mind right that this market is a little crazy, and get your finance together, really know your numbers, because we need that gap. Like this, like say his budget is $700,000. We're not looking at $700,000 homes. We're looking at like 550. So we have a budget to negotiate. We kind of get that in his mind that was going to be a tough process. And you might, some places, if you really love, you might have to just go all in and do these things if the CMA comes out correctly. Because we don't want to tell a client just buy. We want to buy at the right price. We don't want to overpay. So that's why we're losing some deals, because we're not willing to go up to that level of what other buyers are going. So he gets that, and so that's what we're running with, but still very stressful and
Absolutely.
Back and forth, up and down. So yeah.
I agree with you. Every time an offer doesn't get accepted with the buyer, I would have a level set conversation with them. And what I mean by that is I would say, okay, this property didn't work out. What could we have done differently here? Is there anything about this offer that we could have adjusted for our next experience with the next offer? Now, I can't promise you that the next offer is going to get accepted, but we could put a little better of a foot forward next time if we could understand what we did this time that didn't get the accepted offer. So again, just having those continued conversations, being very proactive in every single approach you do, is something that I would do in this market. Now, is that going to alleviate stress or emotions from your buyers? No, it's just going to know that they're going to know that you're in their corner with them and that you're going to help them be the best buyer they can be for the property that they're interested in. Does that make sense, Henry?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Also, Jennifer, you're also going to want to contact a listing agent. Talk to them, see where they're at. I mean, if they have, like the other one had 20 offers in a weekend. First, they had one offer when I called her. So I'm like, yay, we have a chance. FHA loans. Whoa, what a battle. But over the weekend, there was 20 more offers. By Monday, it was crazy. It was super crazy. And again, I've spoken to the listing agent, and it's just wording it differently. Sometimes, not that they're supposed to disclose, but I still build that relationship with that listing agent. We talk, chat, introduce myself, build that relationship. Sometimes not that they disclose, but they give you a little bit of information. And like I say, every offer that I put in, the first thing I do is I call the listing agent. I ask them is there multiple offers? They'll tell me yes. And again, if I have an offer going lower than the listing price, that's something that I as well ask, how are the offers? I have a client, blah, blah, blah. You wouldn't want to waste your time and your client's time when you already know there's like 20 million multiple offers. Just contact the listing agent. And the first thing I ask them is, hey, if my client was to write an offer today, what would it take for the seller to sign off? And sometimes they'll tell you, hey, they want to move fast. They don't want to wait 45, 55 days for a close. They also want to have no inspection. So now you know what you can go back and tell your buyer what some of the the things the seller wants when an offer is coming in. And if they agree, they agree. And you know what, when we put in an offer, explain to them, CMA the property first. Hey, by the way, this property, based on what I compared it with the market around that area, you know, this is what I feel is suitable for an offer. If they ask me, you know, they'll be like, oh, Linda, what you think? What you think? I don't know. You know what? Just CMA it. Give them 3 properties that are similar in what they sold for in the past 3 months. And then, you know, more or less where you can stand with an offer.
Yeah, really good points, Linda. And you know what? We're going to go back to that point specifically about the relationship with the agent. So thank you so much for bringing that one up. I do see, William, you have your hand up. So please, let's hear your question.
Yes, Jennifer and Brooke, there's a lot of losing going on out there right now, and you have to keep your clients' spirits up, go back, regroup, and say, okay, what can we do different? You know, do we need to get more financing, or you just gotta? There's a lot of losing going on out there. You gotta keep your clients' spirits up.
Right, we do. And that's all expectations in the beginning, right? And being proactive and communicating. I think everybody knows this, especially buyers. They know how hard it is. We live in a world full of social media and information being passed so quickly. I think it's also important to make sure your clients understand where to get their info from, right? Not just the social media of their friends, their experiences, but making sure that they understand the experience with you.
Absolutely. All right, so we just want to run through this slide. You've been staring at it for the last 5 to 10 minutes. So let's just run through it. Your buyer is going to make an offer. The seller responds in one of the 3 ways. I believe we all know this, but let's just run through it just in case. They're going to counter the offer, accept the offer, or reject the offer. Now, obviously, we know if it goes into the counter, you and your buyer go right into negotiations. Now, does that happen a lot in this market? Sometimes not. Sometimes it is, though. So we do have to be prepared for now. And by the way, when this market shifts, those negotiating skills are going to come into play very fast. And I have to tell you, that is one of my favorite things, is negotiating a contract. I love that piece. So get to know it, just get to know this piece of negotiating, even though right now it feels like you're just basically offering the buyer's first child as a reward to get the house.
Can I just interrupt a minute?
Please do, Stephen.
Yeah, I just had a question. So, I mean, it's more of maybe a question or a comment or something. But say these like 25 offers, the listing broker is not going to send out 20 sorry, you're not in the ball game, thanks for your offer letters, right? I mean, they just look at the 5 they want or 6 they want, and the others get it totally ignored, correct?
Not all the time. And it really depends on how the agent and that seller wants to handle those offers. I mean, if I'm working for the seller, I want to get the highest, not the highest, but the highest and best, meaning terms. And that might not be the highest actual price, but might be the best terms. Mm-hmm. So I think that if I'm working for the seller, I'm going to present all of them to the seller and find out what we could do to get the actual best contract instead of just the highest. Because a lot of times what you see when you just pick because it's the highest price point, it ends up going out of contract because the buyer can't come through with a mortgage, or right. They were just, sight unseen, and it's not the best actual scenario. So, it depends on the agent and the seller.
I didn't mention highest offer. I didn't mention the 5 highest offers. I just mentioned, it's the other offers I was bringing up, the ones that aren't the highest and best. They're just ignored. They're just pushed over to the table, and nobody ever talks to those people again. Correct?
We had a listing. We call every single one that put an offer in.
Oh, you do?
Because I want to build a relationship. I'm going to cross paths with these people again in the future. It's the building relationship with a listing agent. And
so the deadline is Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you say you have an open house on Sunday. The deadline is Tuesday. You call 40 people. Say 40
I send a giant email
Oh, you send out a giant email. Okay, great.
One email with blind CC them all. Just anyone put an offer in that didn't accept it, they get it. And then offer accepted, we call them. And again, we didn't accept the best offer.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured.
We didn't accept the highest price. Again, we accept the best term for our client. It might not be the highest price, but it's up there. So yeah, we definitely we try to.
You send out an email blast. You send out an email blast to everybody that made an offer.
Well, you know, I would either do an email blast, a text message, or a direct call. It does not take. I would call. Like, that's just me personally.
40 people in the deadline is Tuesday at 3 p.m. and you had an open house on Sunday and 40 offers came in, and you'd call all 40 people before Tuesday. Or
I would. And that's just me though. That's just me as an agent. I would pick up the phone and call them because of multiple reasons. One, there is a real buyer on the other line that I know is not going to be thrilled. And I just want them to know that I appreciate them taking the time to come through the property, submit an offer. And, you know, I'm sorry that their buyer didn't get it, but I want to create the relationship with that other agent to let them know that if we have other listings, please come forward with that buyer because we want to work with you.
And not only that,
Jennifer, is the fact that if you're representing your buyer, why are you not calling them? I call them. I stay in communication the whole time. I'm sorry, I am that person. I will stay in communication.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because I already built that relationship when I first submit the offer. I just don't submit it. I call them. I let them know I submitted. I have a conversation with them. I build a relationship with that listing agent. Mm-hmm. And if it's not accepted, we know when the deadline is. You know what? Touch base. I'll send them a quick text. Hey, by the way, did you hear anything? Blah, 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 blah. How's everything going? And they'll call me. And again, I will call the listing agent and let them know that if anything falls through, my client is still interested in the property. And it happened with one of the properties. They called me back and accepted my offer because the mortgage didn't go through. But since I stayed top of mind, constantly calling them, she called me back.
Right. Yeah, no, great point, Linda, for sure. And you know, that's just one of the things that I would do as an agent. You could do however you do it as an agent. What I would say is just do something. Do something, whether it's an email, a text, a call, it doesn't matter, but be in communication because that's part of the be professional.
I appreciate I appreciate that. And I just think it's, say you're balancing 3 houses, you're listing 3 houses, or even 10 houses. People are talking about 10 houses. I mean, I don't know, but I think it's somewhat impossible to think you're gonna. I mean, I appreciate the way you're doing it. You care for everyone, but I think the whole call everyone back at, you know, in literally 10 hours, you know, whatever the short window is, to tell them, you know, we've picked we have other people on the table right now and you're not one of them. When you're dealing with like 5 houses or something and the windows, I mean, you have a team and you have backup from what I understand, from what you said, but you know, if you're a solo guy or gal and you're trying to balance life and in this profession, and you have, say you have 2 houses, 3 houses that this exact scenario comes up. I mean, I just don't think it's possible to call 80 or 90 or 100 people back just to tell them, well, we made an offer, you know, we picked other offers. I appreciate it. We'll keep you in the running. You know, I don't know. I'm just trying to be realistic about it.
Well,
yeah, no, totally understand. So Sue, I know, I see you put a comment in the chat. Are you available to unmute yourself? So Sue is one of our top agents in the region who comes on to Ignite, and she's just always learning based, and I love that about her. She just put in the chat that she also calls, and I just wanted her to chime in a little bit, Stephen, because she does have multiple properties, and I just wanted to get her take on why she does the calling as well. She put that it's the relationship with the other agent, and I guess she said that specifically, I call too. The time is well spent, and they deserve a quick call. Hard to do, but relationships are created, and that's more important. That was her response on that. Oh, and cool. Again, you have to do what's good and right for you. My only thing is to do something.
Yep, agree.
So.
Good morning, Jen. Sorry, I was coming in from a different room, and I'm like, uh-oh. I heard her name. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good morning, everybody.
So I was just commenting on your comment that you put in the chat, but if you want to add anything onto that, please do.
You know, it is hard. It's a terrible phone call to have to make because we all understand what everybody's gone through. We've all been there. But I just think and I'm solo. I do these myself. I just think that it creates it creates a bond with that other agent, even though it's a quick thing. And they don't forget that. So, after transaction related and it's over and closed and whatever, those agents are still they're still thinking about that phone call because as we know, and I assume that nobody that's listening here is doing this, but a lot of times agents don't have any contact at all. And you're just left, you and your buyers are left wondering. To me, I can't fathom that. Some contact, text, email, pick up the phone. I learned a long time ago to keep a list of the agents and their phone numbers. Just it's not a sticky, it's nothing formal. It takes 3 seconds. And when those calls need to be made, just look at the list, make a quick call. And I think we need to remember too, if you have 30 of them to make or whatever, you're going to get voicemail on many of them. Just leave a kind message. They don't often call back, but at least you've made that connection and notified. So just try it.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate your input on that. And I do see a hand up. Eric, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, hearing, 80 or 90 phone calls in 2 or 3 days, correct me if I'm wrong, but that doesn't seem like it has to be a daunting proposition. I mean, even if you got a hold of 100% of the people, which you won't, which, we just heard is not going to happen, but let's assume it does. I'm brand new, so I have not made these phone calls. So please chime in and correct me if I'm living in a dream world. But in my head, I'm feeling like the conversation could go something like this. You call them up and say, hey, buyer's agent, I just want to call and personally let you know I really appreciate the time and effort you and your buyer put into coming to see the property, putting in the offer. And, unfortunately, we have decided to go with another offer at this time. But I do want you to know from my heart that I really appreciate everything that you've done, all the energy you put in to getting this far. I don't have a lot of time right now because I'm making a lot of other phone calls. But if you do want to talk about this further, please reach out to me later in the week. That so in my head, that's the first kind of script. It doesn't exist, but that's my mental script that comes to mind. You've kind of taken control of the conversation. You put your heart out there. You've appreciated them, and then you've moved on and you've set the expectation. I can't talk about it now. Let's talk about it later in the week. And again, knowing 95% of those people are not going to call you back later in the week. So so these conversations, they last a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then you move on. So in 2 or 3 days, you spend 2.5 hours, which is a lot, but it's not undoable. So am I living in a dream world, or does that seem realistic?
No, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing: you need to do what's right for you and your world and your timing, and what works for your business. So there are many ways you could do it. You could do it the way that Eric just said, like Sue just said. You could send an email. You could send a text message. You could send slide dials, group text that it only goes to the individual people, but you send one group text. So there's many, many ways that you could communicate. I think the point of this conversation, and we can move on to the checklist, Brooke, is just communicate. Make sure you're communicating with the other agents, because it does not feel good when the other agent and that buyer gets ghosted. If you've been on the other side of that, you understand how that feels, because you have to have the conversation with the buyers. I haven't heard anything. I'm very sorry. I haven't heard anything. I have called the agent. I haven't heard back. Right. So just try to eliminate that. And if you're on the side of you're the seller and you got all of those offers, please communicate in the way that works best for your business. Everybody's giving tips and ideas on how they do it. Do what's right for you. Just communicate. All right, Brooke, let's move on to our checklist.
All right, so I have put a copy of it. You guys do have access to this in your Ignite Toolkit guide, but there is a checklist to help you prepare for an offer. And I'm a huge checklist person. I don't know about you, Jen, but personally, I love checklists. The other great thing about this is as you get rocking and rolling in Command is when you are preparing the offer, there is an offer section in opportunities, and you can put these checklist items in the opportunities so that you're doing it the same way every single time.
So let's open that checklist. Can we just open it for everybody? And
oh yeah, give me just a sec to stop the share. Hold on one sec. Checklist.
By the way, you could find this in the toolkit of our resource guides here for Ignite. I believe, is that on our Facebook page?
Yes, it goes to them in an email, and I dropped it in the chat for them.
Awesome.
All right. Give me just a sec.
Sorry, we're pivoting. I just want you guys to see this checklist live because I want to ask you which of these steps can be completed before the offer itself. So obtain the buyer's pre-approval letter. Can you get that before the offer?
Yep.
Yes. Produce a comparative market analysis. Can that be done before an offer?
Yep.
Let's go through other ones. Review the tax records.
Yep.
We are in 2022. Almost 100% of tax records are now online. When I started in 2021, guys, let me tell you something. This was not an easy task.
Nope.
We would have to go to the city hall, town hall, and get this information. That just aged me in this.
Yes.
Business. But I will tell you, it is so much easier today to be a real estate agent, but you have to get this information and find it. Okay. Ensure that the property is still available. That's a big one. Call the listing agent. I think Linda said this. Call the listing agent before you're submitting the offer and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm within the deadline or within a time period to submit my buyer, my client's offer. Let them know it's coming. Okay, you can do that before preparing it. When speaking with the listing agent, build rapport, gather as much information as possible. Ask questions of the listing agent to discover what's important to the seller. Inquire about the activity on the property. Obtain seller's disclosure statements. Find out, oh, go ahead, Brooke.
I was going to say, usually those two are in the MLS. You'll be able to, those should be in the MLS as well. So you can just pull them.
You mean the disclosures?
Yeah.
Correct. There are properties that do not require disclosures. Anybody know what kind of property that would be?
Townhouses?
Say that again?
Townhouse? I don't know because
the buyer beware multifamily investment homes, like larger homes, larger.
Nope, not necessarily. I'm talking about like estate sales.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So estate sales don't require disclosures. ROIs, or I'm sorry, the REOs don't require disclosures. Some other ones as well. Every state is a little different, so make sure you check. But if there are no disclosures, you'll want to know why. Okay. All right. And then the last one is find out if there are any other offers. Believe it or not, some properties might not. I was talking to an agent yesterday. He's freaking out. Do you know why he's freaking out? The property's been on the market for 2 weeks.
What? That happens?
2 weeks. And he is so nervous about it. It's okay, by the way. It's okay if a property lasts longer than 2 weeks on the market. There is still buyers out there. Sometimes even in this market, you could price out of the market, believe it or not. So if you have a property that is not getting activity right now, I would talk to your seller about reevaluating what that price looks like. Okay, let's keep going, Brooke.
Yep. So next in this whole checklist of things, we've got to write the offer. And again, this checklist exists in the toolkit. I'm plopping it into the chat now as well. And I'm sure Jen wants me to share this screen. Give me just a sec to pull that back up too.
Is it helpful to share it and run through it with you guys, or do you want to do it yourself? I'm going to let you guys decide.
I enjoy the walkthrough.
Oh, okay. Perfect. All right.
We're going to go with Kevin
here
and walk through.
All right. Checklist to, where are you? Here you are. Okay.
Okay. So here is your checklist. And if you need to know exactly the system or steps to take, you know how to prepare, and now you know how to write the offer. We're going to get price and terms. Don't discard the terms. It's not always about the price. I want to say that a couple of times. It's not always about the price that's going to win. Henry, you know this.
Oh, yes.
It's not always about the price. It's the terms as well. Okay. The next one is the seller's disclosure. Please review those with your client prior to writing this offer.
So a question about
yes,
seller's
Henry.
disclosure.
Yes.
I noticed some property we put an offer in that does not have it. Are they all required? I mean, Massachusetts seems like most of them do, but I did run across some that did not have them.
I would absolutely call that listing agent and say, hey, have your sellers not had time to fill them out? Or is there a reason that, or are they exempt from filling them out for a reason?
Okay. Because they always should have it, right?
There are some properties that are, that don't require them.
Like you just said, the estate sales and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's somebody
May I
else.
ask? Sorry, yes.
Hi, Lisa.
My previous agency never would include a disclosure. And so I don't think it's a Massachusetts requirement to have a disclosure. That's on any property.
So I'm sorry, what state are you in? Just curious.
Massachusetts.
And you're saying that you didn't include them?
Never. The agency made a habit of never taking them on.
So I can't speak for Massachusetts. I can speak for Rhode Island. They are required. It's like state law that you're required to have disclosures for a property unless you're in one of the exempt areas. So make sure you definitely check with your state on what is allowed and not. Thank you, Lisa. All right. So the next one is earnest money. Is everybody familiar with what earnest money is? Did we go through that yet in this course? I just need a couple of 1 or 2 responses there. So it's the buyer that's making the deposits, basically a good faith deposit on the contract. Mm-hmm. Have we gone through that yet in this course?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you want to make sure when you're writing the offer that you have that already, the expectation from the buyer of what the earnest money will look like. Again, if you're working with different types of buyers, that earnest money is going to vary. It's not a standard amount. It's a varying amount. What I mean by that, if they're a first-time home buyer, they might not be putting a big earnest money deposit down. If they're a VA buyer, they might not be putting a huge earnest deposit down. Now, here's the thing. In the market that we're currently in, you have to have that conversation with the buyer. Because the stronger the earnest deposit, the stronger the seller is going to feel that the buyer is ready, willing, and able to get to a closing table. What I mean by that is if a buyer puts $1,000 earnest deposit down and 2 weeks later, they get cold feet, what's their obligation?
$1,000.
$1,000. If a buyer puts more money down, that is going to have a comfort level for the seller on how willing they are to get to the closing table after certain terms and contingencies are met. Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. I teach contract in Rhode Island. I don't teach it in other states. I know contract in Rhode Island, and I know it well. So please hear me when I say I'm not speaking for other states right now. I'm speaking for Rhode Island. When I recommend a earnest deposit for buyers, I recommend that they do not go over a certain amount. That certain amount depends on what could affect their life. And here's what I'm going to mean by, I'm going to be very general with this, but I also want to get the point across. I want to make sure that their deposit is something that they are, one, able to put down that will not disturb their lifestyle currently. And if they lost it, would not significantly impair their life. Mm-hmm. When I first got into real estate, the first buyers I had put a $20,000 deposit down on a first property that they're buying ever. The wife lost her job 2 days before closing. That $20,000 could have significantly impacted their life. Does that make sense so far? Like they would have been really significantly impacted. Luckily enough, in 2001, the market was similar to what it is now, and the sellers had backup offers, and they were generous enough to release that money to the buyers, and they were able to be whole and continue to actually buy a house 3 months later when she got reinstated in her position and was able to buy a house. But I want you to hear what I just said. It could have, like, it still gives me chills to this day to think that that could have significantly impacted their life and the way that they lived. So when you're looking at deposits for your client, be proactive in that conversation on, are you prepared to go through this contract with this deposit? And what does that mean for you? Does that make sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brooke, do you have something you want to add to that?
Nope, I'm sorry. I sniffled from my allergies.
I did have a question, Jennifer.
Yes.
So if she lost employment and she can't retain that mortgage because she lost employment, you lose your deposit?
It was well past any contingency point. We had a clear to close. We had everything. So yes.
Oh, okay. But if it happens before the mortgage contingency, then we get our deposit back.
Mm-hmm. Then you could get a denial and you could absolutely are in protection of that deposit. That's what it's for. Yeah. Yeah. But we were past that point. So it was definitely one of those experiences where I still have a wound from it. Like it's still, and it was 20 years ago, by the way. I mean, I still talk to the family today. They still live in the property that they bought, and it's worth a heck of a lot more money now than they bought it 20 years ago. And it's one of those like really feel good stories, but I'll tell you, when it happened, wow, did that really affect me? And it was a gut punch. So I never wanted to get in that position again. And I was always told from that point on, you never collect a certain amount of money from a buyer that's higher than. And I can't give you that number because it really depends on where you are and where that buyer is. That makes sense, guys?
That does make sense.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's keep moving on here. That's what's earnest money. So that's the good faith that the buyer's putting down, that they're telling the seller, I am ready, willing, and able to buy this property if these contingencies pass. Okay, if I could get through the contingencies, I will continue on to a sale. Time for the seller acceptance. Now, not every offer is going to have this, especially in today's market. Yet it can, because you could have a buyer that wants to put multiple offers in because properties come on and go off so quickly. Yes. So you can have this offer is valid for 24 hours by 5 o'clock on Monday, whatever the date is on Monday, right? That could happen. You might elect to not put that in there if this property is something that they're really looking to get an answer on, and you know that that would affect the offer in a way. Because sometimes when you put a time constraint on it, what could happen?
Well, we went through the situation. We didn't put it, and they keep dragging it out and ask us to extend it and then get more offers in.
It could go both ways, right, Henry?
Yeah.
It could really go both ways. So you really have to use your judgment of that particular offer, sale, and with the other agent. I would get proactive. What I mean by that is I would call the other agent and say, hey, would it make sense to put a time limit on this? Or what's the expectation of the seller? Mm-hmm. What's the expectation of the seller? Get clarity from the other agent on what makes sense. So that way you don't have to get into that kind of guessing game of if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So right now we're using it as a tactic because we keep losing offers. So we be the first one and say, give your hard deadline before open house, see if they react to it, because it's a substantial offer.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that works. We're giving that a try. That's why we put the deadline in.
Yeah, it really depends. I would say you just want to scenario to scenario, make sure it's the right thing for that offer. All right, moving on, financing terms. Gosh, there's so much we could say about financing terms right now. We don't have enough time in class to talk about it, but I will tell you, make sure you know financially where your buyers are. Some buyers are taking equity out of their homes that they currently live in because they have the most equity ever in this history of equity. Okay, right? Our home values are the highest ever. So that means equity is the highest ever. They're taking their cash from that equity to make offers. Know where your buyer is. Are they taking the equity from the house that they live in currently to buy cash? Are they making an offer on a property that might not appraise and that you have to include an appraisal gap? Mm-hmm. Is the appraisal gap even something you want to do? Does anybody know what appraisal gap is?
Yes. When bank appraisal, when a bank your loan doesn't get appraised for the price that you offering, so you have to cover the difference. Say 530 you offer, but it only comes in at 500. So you got to cover that $30,000.
Cover on top of what you're putting down. Paying. Right. So you want to make sure you're educating the buyer. If the buyer's like, yeah, I don't care if it appraises at 500, I'll pay 530. Great. Are you also going to include the 20% deposit as well for the loan that you're getting? Because that's what you qualified for, right? So you want to make sure that you're educating the buyer on every step of what that means if you're doing that to get an offer accepted. A lot of variables here, guys. I'm happy to have one-on-one conversations with you guys if you have certain scenarios. I would also suggest you go to your market center leadership to have these discussions. If you have a mentor, productivity coach, your broker, they could help you with these things too. Right now, go to them when you have these offers because little things could help your clients get the offer accepted. Little things. Any questions on financing terms before we move on to the next one? Because that's a kind of big one.
Nope.
Okay. Buyer approval letter. We already talked about that, but you want to make sure that it is what? Specific. I'm not going to wait for an answer for this one. It's specific to your offer. Please do not get a blanket pre-approval letter that says your buyer's approved up to $1 million when you're putting an offer on a $500,000 property. Well, you laugh, Brooke, but it happens.
It does. Mm-hmm. It does. I'm laughing because I've seen it, and then you're putting all your cards on the table.
Absolutely.
Play poker with that.
Yeah. So make sure it's specific to your offer. And if you're putting an escalation clause on with your offer, it's okay to put 500 to the max of your escalation clause. Mm-hmm. Talk to your lender and they could help you with that. Make sure you have a really good relationship with your lender that you could call them during writing an offer process. Use a lender that will pick up the phone when you're writing an offer. I'm going to stress that one too. Make sure you're advising your clients to work with lenders that you're able to communicate with during the writing process of an offer. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about that because so many times it happens where we as agents have a guesstimate. Oh, I think it could close at this time. I think we could get a mortgage approval by this time. I think. Be proactive.
I think.
Don't think, be proactive, right? All right. Loan approval, allow your buyer ample time to finalize their financing. Exactly what I just talked about. Call the lender in this specific time. For closing date. Home warranty, I think, this is my assumption, I think home warranties are going to be coming back around once the market shifts. It happens every time. Mm-hmm. When a market shifts and there's more homes on the market, you start seeing home warranty available. Has anybody ever seen those?
I haven't, because the market hasn't been.
Again, I'm showing my age in the market. 20 years of the market, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, right? And so when the market and you have more inventory on and a seller's now using tactics to get buyers, one of the things you see is home warranty available. Yeah. So right now,
I see is new constructions, mainly right now.
Right. Well, yeah, they come with a guarantee one for a year, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, a home warranty is something you don't see currently, but keep an eye out for the current future, that doesn't make any sense, the future for those coming out. Home warranties are a great gift, by the way. That was always something that I gave an option to my clients at the end of the transaction. And I said, hey, I would ask them, one of the things that I do as an agent is provide you one of two things as a closing gift. One is a 12-month home warranty plan or a complete cleaning service of your property before you move in. By the way, I have the cleaning service ready to do that before I offer that to them. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to offer it unless I have it ready. So I would offer one of those. That was always my thing. Home warranty or a cleaning service. 9 times out of 10, they pick the home warranty, believe it or not. And it's a write-off. Mm-hmm. It's a bigger write-off than if you gave them a bottle of wine, believe it or not.
Good to know.
So, all right. Next one is repair limits. Again, you have to just evaluate the property, the market, and your buyers on where that is currently. Right now, the conversation is going to be a lot different than it would be even just 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, where credit limits were very negotiable and a bigger discussion. Currently, it's not, right? So currently, it's a little different of a discussion. Hi, Jose, I just realized you're on. Special clauses and contingencies. This is mortgage, home inspection, but not only that, if there's a short sale addendum, if there is a Hubbard, or they call them different in different states, like if they have to sell their house to buy a house contingency, there are many other contingencies you want to be aware of prior to writing that offer. Okay, so this last one is a little controversial because NAR, National Association of Realtors, did come out with a recommendation, a strong recommendation to not use cover letters moving forward. Now, it's very controversial because a lot of agents are still using them. And Monica Staff here in Rhode Island, she's the attorney for Rhode Island, she recommends we do not use them as well. There is a fair housing component to this that could come into play. So it is recommended that you do not use cover letters. Now, here's the thing. You do not use cover letters. That does not stop your client from saying, I want to communicate with the seller directly about my story. Please state, you as an agent, I would use the NAR recommendation of you not having your name on it, your logo, your letterhead. Has nothing to do with you as an agent. If the client wants to go client to client with their cover letter, you can't stop that. But you don't want to look at it. You don't want to read it. You want them to do that separately. That's the recommendation from NAR.
So do you send it to your other side on behalf of your client, or your client just sends it out?
The recommendation is for you not to touch it. Now, that's all I could say. That's new. That's new as a.
Well, I never really written cover letters, but I've seen people write like personal letters, like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
and if that happens and your client really wants the seller to see that, you could pass it along, but you don't read it. I would recommend what NAR recommends, which is you not being involved in it.
Okay.
Helping them write it, that kind of stuff. Yep. Okay, we got some hands up. William first, and then Eric.
Jennifer, on the repair limits, first time I've heard about that. Is that a percentage or a set amount?
It really just depends, William. Like, it depends on what the repair limits should or could be. So if you're going in on a property that maybe needs a 203K, meaning it does need some work, and you're going to upfront say, you want a credit for this stuff, it could be a dollar amount. You could wait until after the inspection, to once you get the inspection report through, to say, this is what we're going to request for a credit or repair before closing. Again, you're not hearing a lot of that these days because of the market. Yeah, it will and does come up still. All right, Eric.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a little more clarity on what you were saying about a cover letter. I sat in on a webinar with a national real estate coach, and he was a big believer in every single offer he ever pushed had his client's story. I mean, they wrote it, but he encouraged him, and he even went so far as to say he basically told him, you know, kind of basically what to say. He's like, make them fall in love with you, tell them that, you know, you've got kids that want to go to this school, and blah, blah, blah. And so he kind of coached them through writing it. So what you're saying is that approach is basically tantamount to having your name and whatever on it, or not necessarily? It sounds like you're saying yes, but I just want to make sure and get some clarity. I understand that you don't want to have your name on the piece of paper, on your letterhead, whatever, but does that mean you have to, you know, you can't even suggest that they write one, or what they should write, or how standoffish?
Yeah, I'm just going to suggest taking a look at the NAR article I just dropped in the comment section. It is literally around the love letters and the liability of them. So,
Okay.
So feel free to just grab that and you know, use it. Again, Eric, some agents are still using them. I'm just telling you what NAR is recommending to the masses. So.
All right, appreciate it.
Yep, of course. Okay, ready to move on?
I am.
I think it's your turn.
It
I
is.
can stop talking.
No, I love it. I love listening. Every time we teach this, like, I learn something new, and in a shifting market, this is so important. This is just so important. So in the next step, what I'm going to show you guys is from the listing side of things, what it looks like to put an offer in Command real quick. What I'm not going to do is run through the client side or any of those, how we got here. What we're simply going to go over today is what does it look like to put an offer in a listing, right? So this is my pretend database in Command. So I'm in opportunities. And if you guys didn't know, the red KW will expand these and show you the names of things, a little Easter egg. So I'm in negotiations with SpongeBob, or, oh no, we'll use this one. Over here in offers and commissions, you have the ability to add those offers. And what I love about this is say you do have 35 offers, it lets you put your pros, cons in and puts a side-by-side comparison together for your seller as well. So we're simply going to click add new offer. We recommend initial offer, right? You can go in and rename the next ones V2, V3, V4, whatever you're going to do. So you're going to create an offer. And then we're just going to follow along with the information. So today's the offer date. When are we looking to close? Who are the parties? So we have the seller, so it pre-fills it. But you could SpongeBob, SquarePants, my best client. Anything that's an asterisk has to be in there. Okay. This is Jennifer Bovey as the associate who's representing the buyer. That is not Jen Bovey's actual phone number. Please do not copy that down. That is Jenny's. And then here are the terms. What are they putting for cash? What are they financing? What is the sale price? You can put the earnest amount in. Are there any seller costs, termination options, right? I'm just putting in fake amounts. And now here's your analysis as an agent, right? And a summary. This is ta-da! Thank you, Linda, for the background sound. Ta-da!
So now like a Mario Brothers like win.
Right? I feel like I just did. I hit the thing.
Right,
and I got
right on time.
It's perfect.
Terrible.
Flag.
So now we can see all the information and we can accept or reject or keep adding them. And we can add more. Okay. So once we accept that, that also then adds in the ability to do your commission statement. So this is how you would add an offer in Command. I love these as well because it lets you see everything quickly as it stacks up and when you put them in and when they come in. just a quick, easy place to put things. And it's one place for all the information. It's not a folder full of things sitting in your car, your desk, and everything you need is right there. Has anybody done an offer yet in Command?
No.
Yay. Yay.
Was that a new?
That was a new.
Was it I want to though?
Uh-huh.
Right? It's pretty, right?
Now,
It's pretty,
now
right?
Brooke, I did have a question. This is an offer that we're putting in because we don't, well, our team doesn't use this, but you know, I'm still trying to stay on top of Command as well. You never know how the world works in the near future that I need to know this, but this offer here is I'm putting in an offer, or this is my listing and how many offers I had on that listing?
Your listing. And here's the thing too.
Okay.
For market centers that are compliance and Command, you can't get the commissions tab, AKA old green sheets, to open until you put an offer in and accept it.
Okay. And you put in every single offer in there, or just the top?
You should. Here's the other thing. The more we give Command, the smarter it gets.
Okay.
So you put in 40 offers, you put the accepting one in. At some point, Command's going to start to tell you with the AI, hey, agents who had this offer added this in your state and it got accepted, right? The more we feed the artificial intelligence, the smarter Command's going to get to start to recommend things in the future. But we need to get it to a point where it's recommending. It's got to read the data. It's looking at all of these options on the screen.
Okay.
That way it can make smarter recommendations to us in the future. And that's simply how you put an offer in Command. Ta-da.
Any questions on that for Brooke? All right, Brooke, you did a great job explaining it.
Well, thanks, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, so let's go through offer writing guidelines. I think we went over the checklist to write an offer. Didn't we do that already?
Yeah, we did that. Yep.
All right, and then the next one talks about the cover letter. We just talked about that already. So I did put that article in there. I really suggest you read it, because I just glanced over it again just to make sure that what I was saying was accurate. And they do recommend, when I was just looking at it here, it says avoid reading any love letter drafted or received by your client. So if you're on either side, try not to review those. You want to try to stay removed from it as much as possible. Again, some agents are still using it. It's a NAR thing that's coming down from fair housing that you want to really, again, just try to have as smooth as you can transaction. And that's one of the ways to do it, is to be removed from those love letters. Okay. Next portion. This is a role play. Now, Brooke, we have not been on with you. This is our first time on. And I'd love to know from this group, how many times have you guys done role plays in Ignite so far? Have you been broken out into groups and done role plays, or? Yes? Awesome.
Numerous times.
Oh, good.
All right. You guys stay on and you don't leave?
No, I didn't say that, but.
Oh, all right. All right, Kevin. Okay. So, here's the thing. I want us to get the most value out of today. I'm not all about just being here to tell you stuff that is just to fluff up the day, like just to give you stuff. I want it to be of value. So I need to have a consensus from the group that if we put you into groups to role play this buyer offer objections, that you're going to stay on with us. So 28 of you on, 27. See what happens as soon as you say you're going to 26. Right? As soon as you start saying you're going to group people into sections, they start dropping out. You don't have to have the script in front of you. We will guide you through this. But we do want you to get the most value. And I promise practicing this does come in handy when you are working with buyers and you're getting some offer objections. Would you agree, Brooke?
I agree. And if you are in the workbook, this is also page 8, by the way.
Why don't we let them open page 8, or do you want to share page 8? Maybe we could just share
I'm
it.
going to put it in the chat for you as well. So it's in the chat, and I'll pull it up on the screen. Let me find, I may just have to put this in a Word document because I don't have your.
All right, I think we're going to stay as a group. We're not going to send you off into little chats because I don't want to lose any more people. I want you guys to stay here and get some value out of today. So Brooke, let's just keep them in all this room together and work through it.
Sure.
You want to share that script?
Yep. So there are 2 common objections. Like we said, it's on page 8. So the first one is, it's common for buyers to want to request that a seller make repairs in their offer. This objection handler script allows you to give your clients information to make an informed decision. So give me 2 seconds and I'm pulling that up, and we'll pull that up on the screen. Does anybody have it? 6. Participant guide. Here we go. La la. Page 8. Okay. 7. I can count, I promise. All right. It looks so funny. Here we go. Ta-da. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Whoop. There we go.
Yeah, that's actually better.
Okay. So this is the first one.
Can I have a volunteer for this?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that very much, actually. Okay, will you be our agent and I will be your buyer?
Which role you would like me to play, I will play.
Okay, if you could be the agent, that would be amazing. So the script is right there. When the buyer wants the seller to make repairs.
So I'm calling you up.
We're having a consultation. So we're talking about the offer that we want to set, and I want the seller to make some repairs here.
So I'm using the script here, Mrs.
Yes,
So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, until I have a physical inspection, we will not know how much these items will cost, and we could find additional repairs we may want to negotiate. Consequently, you have these 3 choices. You can offer the seller less money now to compensate for these items. You can ask the seller now for a credit to repair these items using your own contractor, or I usually advise clients to wait for the physical inspection and negotiate all repair items at one time. How would you like me to negotiate this offer on your behalf?
So Stephen, I see that you said you usually advise your clients to wait for the physical inspection and negotiate all repairs at one time. Why is that?
Putting me on the spot.
A buyer would, wouldn't they?
Of course they would. I don't know.
All right, let's get some help from our audience here. Let's call a friend.
That's why I wanted to be the buyer, actually.
Phone a friend. Let's phone a friend.
Yeah.
It's going to be more efficient for sure. I mean, if you're constantly going back and forth with the agent, and they have to go contact the seller, et cetera, that can be a huge time ask for all parties involved. If you have multiple things happening that need attention, presenting them all at once is the most efficient way to do that. And then also you can create one concession as opposed to nickeling, diming everything constantly.
Well,
Like pick your battles kind of thing.
Like all of this. I like this is what we call a mastermind of this objection. So I love all of this. Anybody else?
Wouldn't you want a inspector who's trained professional at finding these things and give you a full report before you figure out what you want to negotiate for?
Exactly. That's what I would have said as well.
That's what you should, I feel. A professional tell you what needs to be fixed. or
Right.
what is like cosmetic.
Right. You could guesstimate what needs to be repaired and be completely surprised on both ways, right? You could be surprised on it might not be as much as you actually think, or you could be surprised and be a bigger project than you think. Wouldn't you want a professional to find that out for us?
Yes, and also the most important to the buyer, most important repairs.
Right. Right. What are the most important repairs to you? Because sometimes buyers could do them themselves, right? Or they want to do that themselves.
So a lot of times we recommend structural stuff.
Absolutely.
Cosmetic stuff costs less. We can fix it ourselves. You don't have to fix it right away. But big ticket items, we try to hone in on those. Mechanical issues, structural issues.
All right, so now let me flip this a little bit. If a buyer says that to you currently in the market that we're in, and there are multiple offers on this property, even though it needs a lot of work, would you still say number 3? Would you still recommend number 3?
No.
What would you do?
I mean,
it's not a trick question. This is just an
ask. No, I think I go the way Henry said, you know, the way that you just look at the big stuff at this point. You can't sweat the smaller repairs. I mean, you're just not going to get the offer in at all.
I think Henry said it, or somebody said it on here. Maybe it was William. What's really important to the buyer?
Right.
What's really important to you? Is it that the property gets a structurally sound inspection, or do you want to know what the minor repairs are to move forward? What does that look like? Really ask the buyer what it is that they're concerned about and what they're looking for.
But of course, you don't want to discredit the buyer's thoughts and feelings and emotions and all that. But wouldn't you advise the buyer to say, "Hey, listen, we're not going to even get looked at if we start nitpicking all the small stuff"?
It really depends on the property. I wouldn't just assume that from the start.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume it from the start. And I would really just look at every single property different than the next one. So don't ever have the same kind of conversation for every property. You want to be able to have different conversations around this with different properties and different clients.
So is it driven more by the buyer who doesn't know anything, or is it driven more by what you're saying?
Well, it depends, Stephen. Do all buyers not know anything? Because I know that I've had lots of clients.
No. I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it in a general swath. Not at all. No, but I just mean in just sort of a I guess it's a question to you. Do you completely trust, okay, the buyer's going to lead this whole process, or are you going to say that, I think we should, in this competitive market, ignore the small stuff?
So I'm going to ask what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a lot of questions of the buyer, and I'm going to get what the buyer really needs, wants, and could use guidance on. And that's how I'm going to have a conversation with them. I'm not going to, I personally am not going to say, I think you need. I'm going to say, what do you need? And ask lots of questions around it.
But in your 20 years of experience, wouldn't you know, I would assume you know better, don't you?
No, I don't. So that's the thing that I've learned in my 20 years, Stephen, is I never assume anymore. Never, ever assume. Because you know what? I walked into a property once and it had like that shag, green, like fluffy rug. Yep. It's like this high, and you walk through it and you're like walking through grass. And the first thing I said was, oh my goodness, I would rip this out right away. And, I'm sure there's hardwoods underneath there, and I would move that wall. And that buyer said to me, Jen, I love that rug and I want that wall there.
That I understand.
I'm just using the example of I don't assume anymore.
Right. Ever. But I appreciate that. But those are personal.
It goes always though, all. I can't assume that a buyer knows how to fix a sink or doesn't.
Well, I don't know. I think you're negotiating for the buyer. So I think you would, and I'm not trying to be difficult. Trust me, Jennifer. I just think that I would think that you want to take the reins a little bit, because look, this is a fast market, and I don't know. I'm new, so I.
No, you're right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide instead of either direct or assume. That's all I'm saying. What I think the difference is. I'm going to guide them, and I'm going to educate or send them in the way to educate if they don't know right now.
Right, but I still think in this market, if you start saying, well, I want, that door knocker replaced and I want this and that, and I think that people are going to say, forget about it.
You'd be surprised. It's situational. It's situational right now. I mean, Jose, who's on the call with us right now, he had a property that buyers were asking for something like doorknobs and flooring and stuff like that. And the seller was willing to start looking at some suggestions. So it's just situational on the market currently. So.
I mean, because they had the money and the other offers didn't. I mean, I guess, I just don't understand why anybody would bother with anybody that is nitpicking. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, so we have hands up. So we have Eric, Linda, and then William.
And then guys, let's go to a quick break after this, and then we'll come back. So as soon as we get through these, let's just do a couple and then we'll come back from the break.
Great.
So my comment was kind of splitting the difference a little bit between you and Steven's back and forth there. I completely see the value in taking each opportunity, as it exists. And so what's right for one property may not be right for another. So I'm saying what I'm about to say in a very general context, but would you feel comfortable, Jennifer, in saying something, or Brooke, either or, in saying something to the effect of, we know that this house has this, and this, whether it's had an inspection or it's a site evaluation or whatever, but you found issues. So then you kind of throw into the conversation, it's important that you know that depending on how we approach these, that may or may not weaken your offer, given the current,
Absolutely.
Interest in the house, or what, if you pulled up at the open house and there was 50 cars, that's a pretty good indication that if you're going to balk at, replacing the front stairs, they're going to say, go kick rocks.
Yeah, well, I think that's why it's important to ask the buyer what's important to them.
Right.
Because they could say, I don't care. I don't care if there's water in the basement. I don't care if this is that way. And that ahead of time. But if they say to you, you know what, that really makes me nervous that there's water, that really know ahead of time, so that way you could guide them in the right direction going forward, rather than kind of just putting it on the back burner and then waiting for a situation to come up later in the transaction.
So you don't necessarily have an issue with bringing to their, with bringing into the conversation that may weaken their offer, as much as you want to make sure that they have input on what the findings mean to them. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair, and be as proactive and communicative as you can. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Linda, what do you, I have Linda, William, and then Sue. And then we're going to take a break.
Okay. Before anything, you do your homework. Look at the listings. Some of them, majority of them, are as is. So I do, again, educate my buyer prior to seeing these properties, because we do speak before we see these properties. And I always provide them with the listing information as well. And I let them know, these properties are as is. Then if they're not, then what I do is, again, you still give them that physical inspection. You know what, let's wait for the physical inspection. Let's see what we come back with. We cannot sit here and say, oh, it's going to weaken my offer, because there's been times that, unfortunately, the buyer will want you to ask, no matter what. I had one. I don't care. This is my list. This is what I want to present. I presented it. Listing agent looks at me like I'm crazy. Guess what? 90% of the list, the seller fixed. Why? We don't know what's going on the other side. So do they really want to go back and say, I'm not going to do this, let's go back and find another offer, or let's go to another offer? They actually fixed majority of it, but I did educate my buyer and tell them, remember, there's going to be, you just let them know, maybe the seller's not going to cover everything. What are your top things that concern you that you would really, really want this seller to fix, that if he does not fix, you're just going to withdraw your offer? But little tedious things, when you're going to an inspection, I know a lot of people may not go to an inspection. I usually do. The inspector will tell them, oh, this is minor, this is nothing, this, easy. This is not a huge fix. So I let them know, let's look at the bigger things. This is what we're concerned about when we're making this offer. You don't want a cracked foundation. You don't want crumbling foundation. You don't want, things leaking in the basement, but you already spoke to your client about what they're looking for in a property, right?
Great. Yep. Thank you, Linda. All really great tips and tricks and ideas coming. So thank you. Appreciate that. William, you're up.
Yes, Linda, getting back to your point that you never know what your client is thinking. I had a friend who was a buyer. He pointed out something that he was concerned with. The agent said, you're just nitpicking. That's not important. And the agent lost the buyer.
Can you say that again, William? Because I didn't really hear the whole thing.
Yeah, you cut out for just a minute.
Oh, okay. Yes. My friend was a buyer. He mentioned something that concerned him to the agent. And the agent said to him, that's not important. You're just nitpicking. That's a minor, repair. And my friend walked away from the agent.
Yeah, I think you just have to know your client and really just remember that it's about them and ask them a lot of questions. Ask them a lot of questions of what their expectation is of properties. So good point. Sue, and then we're going to go on a break.
Just a reminder that, and this will sound fresh and I don't mean it this way, that our clients are adults contractually, but legally have to be adults to do this. And I think it takes years to figure out that fine line of guiding versus putting our personal opinion in. We are obligated to teach them, guide them, but then take a step back on our personal opinion and abide by what they want to do. And that's a tough line. I've flipped houses for 25 years. I see stuff sometimes, but I have to stand there going, I'm not a structural engineer. I can advise that perhaps one is needed, but knowing what opinions to throw out there and what we shouldn't throw out there, especially right now, are really important to kind of double check yourself before you open your mouth. And I'm so happy, Jen, that you put out the green carpet situation. Our very lovely regional director, Nathan, tells a great story about a pink kitchen and how one of his first clients, he totally stepped in it by ripping apart the pink kitchen, and his buyers loved it. So those stories happen.
They do. And, it's such a good point because, there's a reality between what we know as an agent, what we should know and what we should say. A lot of times we should say, I would advise your tax accountant. I would advise your inspector. I would advise with your, not us. Right. We are not inspectors. We're not tax people. We're not. So as like Sue's mentioning, we have to know what lane we're down and which avenues to make sure that we're recommending if we're not clear on them. So thank you, Sue, for adding that as well. Again, this all just goes back to, this is about your client needs, what they expect, and how you could guide them the best way. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to go on
let's do a 10.
10?
Let's do a 10. Yeah, let's come back at 10:45-ish. Yeah, let's do 10:45.
10:45. We'll see you. Please come back at 10:45. We have some more to go through with you guys. And I appreciate the discussion. So please keep them coming and we'll see you at 10:45. Bye. It is 10:45. We are going to get started again. Give you a minute to 30 seconds to get back to the computer. Put your camera on if you can. And I'm going to just quickly finish our little role play by not doing that next one. The next role play was about submitting a low offer to the seller. Now, there are buyers that still are looking to submit lower offers to sellers currently. Does it happen all the time? No, because we are educating them on the current market. When a buyer does ask you to put in a low offer, I would do your homework on the property, and then I would educate the buyer and have that conversation with them on what it looks like. One of the ways I would talk to a seller or buyer when I did not agree, or my reports did not agree with the pricing, whether it was listing or buy side, one of the things I would say is it would be unprofessional of me to tell you that your offer will get accepted if we put this amount on the offer. That doesn't mean it won't get accepted. Doesn't mean it will either. I want to be able to support your number by providing you with a market analysis. And currently the market analysis does not support that number. Now that goes either way. That goes either way. If you go on a listing appointment and this is not what we're talking about, but I'm going to tell you, if you go on a listing appointment and the seller says, I want to list my house $200,000 more than you just told me, that's my conversation. It would be unprofessional of me to tell you that I could support that price for this listing, because the reports are showing me the properties that are selling currently are in this range. If we list it on that range, or if we put an offer in this range, statistically showing it looks like we're not going to be in the right range. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions on that? Okay, we're going to move on to present the offer. Brooke, you want to keep going?
Yeah, hold on. I pulled up the wrong.
Are we at present or are we at write? I'm actually lost.
I thought we were at reviewing it. Let me just see. My thing's in a different order, so I'm trying to find. Present the offer to the list agent is where we were. I'll get back in. And we're back. So we're going to notify. So now we've run through all the different parts of the offers. We know a little bit about what we need to do. Now it's different now, but it doesn't mean that we may not go back to how the market was in a previous time, right? So we do notify the list agent of the incoming offer. Okay. We're going to send in the offer, set the deadline. Now this one confused me, Jen. So I'm hoping you can give me some clarity in this market of now about deadlines. Now, are we complying with their deadlines, or are we actually putting in a deadline to accept our offer? So this one always throws me a little bit.
Well, it really, again, just depends on your buyer. And are they looking at multiple properties? Are they putting offers on other properties if this one doesn't give an answer by a certain time? And, that's happening quite a bit. The thing is, you don't want to get stuck in putting multiple offers on multiple properties for your buyers and then 3 of them get accepted. Now, could that happen? Probably not, but it could. So you don't want to put yourself into that liability either. So setting a deadline for your buyers who are very aggressive and know that there are other properties they want to look at and possibly bid on, I would consider, or at least have that conversation with the buyer if they should put a deadline in.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. So then we create the offer in Command, and then we're going to consult with the buyers when the seller responds. So again, a lot of the things Jen talked about earlier with her 4 Bs all come into play in this. And there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. And we just have to remember that this is a high tension and can be stressful and full of fatigue. So we've got to make sure that we are communicating the appropriate things at the appropriate times to our clients.
Yeah, it's just always important to remember that your client comes first in all of this. Your client comes first.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we've talked a lot about presenting the offers in here, and we've, you know, we kind of skipped ahead with a lot of the great questions we had. So with permission, I'd like to actually skip this role play. And Jen, if you just have anything you want to call out about, the role play was about presenting the offer to the seller's agent. So do you want to just touch on anything of that, or because we've talked about it so much, can we skip ahead to what it looks like to represent the seller?
I'm just going to kind of review or re-mention that the importance of the relationship with the listing agent and how to stay professional when presenting that offer. It's easy in this market to get stressed, and your buyer is really anxious, which sometimes fall onto us. Just remember that if you communicate the best with that listing agent and present the offer in the best true light for your client, your chances of winning the offer are higher. They're higher. So just always remember to stay professional when you're preparing that offer and presenting the offer. Use the checklist, because the more prepared you are, the more documented you are, and the more it is set up for success, again, the higher probability of getting an accepted offer. If you go in unprepared and, you know, a lackadaisical, for a better, I don't know, whatever. If you're just not fully prepared with what you're submitting, sometimes those offers get disregarded. So don't go in unprepared. Fully prepare yourself for this.
And stay organized, right? Those checklists are going to help you stay organized so that you're not sending 4 emails. Oops, sorry, forgot the attachment. Oops, sorry, here's the whatever, right? That makes us look unprofessional. Take the extra minutes, go through the checklist. And here's my helpful hint as a nerd. When I'm sending a very important email, I never put the 2 people in. I never put 2, you know, I'm never going to put the email addresses it needs to go out to until I'm 100% sure that everything in that email is exactly where it needs to be. The last step I actually do is put the email in, because none of us want to hit send by accident. So just follow that checklist, get everything in the email where it needs to be, or Dotloop or DocuSign, your e-signature software. Make sure everything's set up, and then the last thing you do is put the email address in and hit send, or push the envelope or the loop, however you guys do it.
So when you are representing the seller, the way that it works is you receive the offer, you gather the information about the buyer or buyers in this case, in this market, present the offer to your client, your seller, and then respond to the offer or offers in most cases at this point. Just the goal is to come to an agreement that is satisfactory to both parties, right? Not just one, not just the other, to both. So just keep that in mind when you're working with your seller on the offers that have come through.
And I've got the checklist to review an offer up. Would you guys like to go over that on the checklist?
Kevin says yes. He said yes before. He's going to say yes again, right, Kevin?
You got it, my friend. All right. And I did plop this in the chat as well. So make sure the address is correct. Now you are representing.
Can I talk about that for a minute? Because this is a big one. So when I teach the class of writing out a contract, I stop at this one and talk about it for a couple minutes. Because here's the thing. I don't know if it's like this in your states, but in Rhode Island, there's like 3 words for one road. 3 names of a road for one road. Like, I don't know, it's like Route 2, South County Road, and something else. I don't know. And then it used to be called another road, and that's what people call. Anyway, the point of this is make sure the address that you're putting in the contract is the actual address and mailing zip code. I'll give you an example. I lived at a condo. It was 58 Post Road, Unit 10, East Greenwich, Rhode Island, 02818. But I paid taxes to Warwick, not East Greenwich. So when I had to put that address in the contract, I had to put Warwick with the zip code of East Greenwich. So all I'm saying is double check, double fact check the address to make sure it's the proper tax where the taxes are being paid address. Does that make sense, guys?
That does make sense. And I actually lived and owned a property where like 0.03% of the property I had to pay to another town. So when we bought the house, how it was listed was very different, and it was confusing first of all, I was young. I was 23 years old when I bought my first property. So I never forgot that. And there was back and forth about that because none of us could decide between the listing and the buyer how exactly to write it up. And we ended up having to bring in a real estate attorney to help us make sure everything was legal so that I paid taxes correctly and that the seller had things. It was tricky.
Yeah, you learn quick on what not to do. And that was one thing I learned quick in my day as well. The other thing that's not mentioned here is legal names in a contract.
Correct.
I can give you an example that there is an agent in my market center. We know him as Ryan Hazanakis. He's a top agent. He's amazing. When he was coming to Keller Williams, there was such a big confusion of who was coming in. Was it Sam or was it Ryan? I was talking to a Ryan. Somebody else was talking to a Sam. His legal name was Samuel Ryan Hazanakis. How many times does that happen when you're working with a client and their name is Cash, but their actual name is Charles? Or something like that. Make sure when you are filling out your contracts, you ask for their license, their ID, so you're putting their full legal name on the contract.
Yep,
absolutely. That's a huge point because you could go all the way to closing with a Cash Kelly as your buyer, and it's actually Charles, and that could delay everything. So just a key point: make sure you're using legal names.
No, price is the next one, right? A missing zero or an additional zero can cause a big problem outside of just the check, whether it's the seller's expectations, right? Earnest money. Is it acceptable? We talked in length about this at the beginning. Time for acceptance. How long does your seller have to respond? Now, in this market, it's a little different. Pre-approval. So if there is mortgage contingencies or lending happening, is there pre-approval and loan approval? We've talked in length at other Ignites about that. But if you have questions, please go back to your lenders in your market center or those that you work with to get understanding around pre-approvals and loan approvals and the differences.
And it's okay for you representing the seller to reach out to the lender of the buyer to ask them these questions. They can't disclose buyer personal confidential information, but they could help answer some questions for you around contingency dates, closing dates, and such.
Absolutely. So, and the financing terms, right? If they're not clear to you and you're not understanding, you can. Closing date. Will the closing date work for your sellers? Home warranties, like Jen talked about, also check with your broker and make sure they're legal in your state. I know there are some states that home warranties were not allowed at one point, so just make sure they are. Conveyances, go through the appliances, the fixtures that were requested. We hear the stories of people took things even though it was on the seller's disclosure that they were staying, right? Double check those things. Repairs, any special clauses or contingencies. HOA, which is homeowner association, words failing me. Seller's disclosures, mold disclosures, lead disclosures in New England. Make sure the seller has those documents completed. And then possession date. That's the day the buyer takes possession after closing, making sure that your sellers have enough time to move out.
So Linda has a question in the chat and she says she copies and pastes from MLS. And so this is just me being a little more proactive and maybe a little more extra cautious. I don't know. I don't always just rely on what the other agent does because I don't always believe that it's accurate. Shame on me, but I will always go to the tax record before copying and pasting from MLS because I want to double check and make sure, again, this is just me being a little extra cautious, that the property is the right legal for tax purposes address and for recording reasons. So go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, well, thank you for that one because I usually do that and I didn't know about doing that other step. A question I have was about the pre-approval. Some of my clients have submitted an offer with pre-qualification, and I've heard from other agents that it's not considered very strong offer because pre-qual is not the same as pre-approval. What can I do? Could I contact the lender and ask them for pre-approval, or they have to submit certain documents to get that pre-approval? So should I educate my buyer anyway, making sure that they submit all those necessary documents as soon as possible so we can get the pre-approval to submit an offer?
1000%. I would set your buyer up for success from the very get-go of you working with them. And that's the quality of you working with them, is that you're going to prepare them to be in the driver's seat and be more able to get an accepted offer rather than somebody who might not have all of their documentation ready to go. If you are a buyer and you literally just are waiting for an address to go to underwriting, that's a better buyer than a buyer that needs to get all their documentation to a lender before. Like a lender could give, I don't know if it's a pre-qual or pre-approval because it flips in different states in different ways that they talk about it, but you could just run a credit report and the lender could just go off of what you say you make to give you an approval letter. I wouldn't represent a buyer and be okay with that, by the way. If I was representing a buyer, I would recommend to that buyer that they get every single documentation they can to the lender to be very prepared and ready to get to a closing table sooner rather than waiting for them to get the documentation during the process. Does that make sense, Linda?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
How do you tell the buyer that? I have 2 buyers like that right now, and I keep telling them, and they wanted to put in an offer. And I say, first of all, we need to get you pre-approved. And like, even before they made the phone call, the house was bought. And I said to them, this is what's going to happen if you don't get underwritten. I said, not only pre-qualified. They said, oh, we're pre-approved from 2019. I was like, 6 months old is too old. So we need to get you at a minimum pre-approved just so you're in the process. And this week he keeps asking me, oh, can you look at this? I saw this on Realtor. I saw this on Zillow. I'm like, please call this person, or anybody else that you feel comfortable with. And like, how do you say to them,
I don't
want to work with you if you don't do this?
Yep, absolutely. So this would be my exact way I would talk to them. I would say it would be unprofessional of me to continue to represent you and submit offers if you're not prepared and ready to be accepted. And what I mean by that, Mr. Buyer, is that the other buyers that are coming to the table are either going to be cash buyers or buyers that are ready to go to underwriting or to get approved quickly. We are not at that stage right now, and it would be unprofessional of me to be able to say that I could actually win an offer with you where we are currently. If I could work with you and help get you to a lender and assist you any way I can to make sure that your paperwork is ready for that stage, then I'm ready and willing to get you into to properties and to get offers submitted. Until that point, I think that we need to speak to a lender.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can't even submit an offer without the pre-approval with my offer package.
She's saying she has a pre-approval. It's just not
super out of date. Yeah.
There's pre-qual and then pre-approved. I didn't know. I'll be honest with you. I was just submitting them until someone was like, make sure they do their homework and get your stronger offer. That may be why some of the offers were not accepted, were because when I look at offers, she says, if they're a pre-qualification, now I know that it's going to take some more time to make sure that they're pre-approved, opposed to an offer, even though it's a higher dollar amount, you're pre-qualified, pre-approved. And sometimes the agent will call me, send me a questionnaire emailed. One of them was like amazing. And they wanted to make sure that they were all the way pre-approved. It was from a different brokerage. It was like amazing, to the point that I have to submit it to a lender prior to receiving this offer.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. That's why it's so important to have that relationship with the lender, because the lender will tell you that. The lender knows too how to get the buyer in a seat to all they need is an actual address to get them to the closing table. So make sure you're having this dialogue with your lenders that you're working with your buyers. All right, so we're going to talk about present the offer. We've kind of run through a lot of this already, but we're going to continue it because, again, the more we know, the easier it is to have these conversations with our clients. Notify the seller, present the offer in person if possible. That doesn't really happen these days as much as it did. Yeah, if you can, it's great. Use command to communicate the offer in the KW app. Anything you want to say on that, Brooke?
Yeah, there's just, if you are in opportunities, there are client guides that you can customize before you put the person in that specific stage in an opportunity. Always reach out to them. Decisions like this, big things like this, should not be communicated with the notification or an app first. Make the call, and then when you move them into the offer stage in the opportunity, you can make it so that an automatic email or notification does go out to the client saying, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. We have offers to review," or "Congrats, you've accepted the offer. We'll be in touch with next steps." But you can make it so that command helps you communicate, but don't make command be the first point of communication.
Great point, Brooke. The next part is update the CMA. Even though you might think you know, check it again.
Yep.
Properties are selling daily. Things are changing daily. Interest rates are changing daily. So make sure that you're updating your market analysis with your client and showing them that. Present the offer, price, repairs, buyer motivation, contingencies. We've talked a lot about that. And then the decision of counter, accept, or reject. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing under notify the seller. I don't know if I'm confusing myself. I see present the offer in person, and then 2 boxes down, it says present the offer. What's the difference there? What am I missing?
I think the first one's you notify the seller that there are multiple offers or offers. So in a slower market, right? One offer. But then you're actually digging into the other offers or the ones after they go through the ones you've presented, right? So you notify the seller, then you're presenting it.
Okay, so presenting the offer, the box 3 is just more detailed.
Correct. Where you
okay.
Yep. So when you're doing your pros and cons and you're listing it out, it's up to the seller to decide, right? We can counsel them, but at the end of the day, it's up to them to choose who they are selling their home to. So by going over all those different things, that's where that is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I have a question too. Updating the CMA. So this is totally new to me. So even though you've set a price and you have an offer assumedly near your price, what you're saying is you're still checking the market. And if the market has swung in the short time that you've listed it, that might affect your decision to accept or deny the offer. Is that what you're?
So no, this would be update the CMA for your offer for your buyer to make sure you're still in the price range of where the market is supporting.
Wait, but I'm sorry. In this situation, I am the seller's agent.
Nope. So we're notifying the seller. So this is the buy side. So it's kind of both, actually, if you look through the whole process of it. At first, it says notify the seller, present the offer in person, use the command, update the market analysis. And then you're going to, it's kind of going through the entire process from both sides, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Hi, Jose.
Hi. I have a buyer who likes 2 houses and he wants to put 2 offers in one in each house. So when should I put the first offers and I put the first offer in the first house. When should I do the second offer? Should I have to wait until they say me, no, you are not accepted, and then I go ahead and do the second one?
So the recommendation would be yes, because if you submitted both offers at the same time and both offers got accepted, signed, accepted, you are legally under contract with two properties.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to put an offer in on one property, I would set a deadline. If your buyer is saying, I want to put an offer on this other house, I would be proactive, have that conversation with them and say, okay, let's put the offer in on this house, give them 24, 48 hours to respond to it. And if we don't get accepted, we'll put an offer in on this other property within that time frame.
That's the right way to do it. Okay, good.
That's how I would do it. Or I would have the conversation with the buyer. Are you prepared to buy 2 houses? You never know. Maybe they could.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
You would put that under other conditions in your offer? Because I've never put out
the timeline.
Yes.
Yeah, I would put that in the additional provisions section of your offer.
Right. So let's respond to the offer, because we've got to respond, right? We've talked about that at length today. So there's a few things that happen, right? We could counter, we could accept, or we could reject as the seller, right? So it's up to you to help your clients come to that process. So accept it. If the offer is reasonable, it may not be highest and best. It may be what fits the client's needs. It means it's sold, right, friends? We could counter, right? Your clients may love all the offers, but not everything about every offer. Jen, do you have anything to add about counters in this market right now? Are we seeing them?
Sure. I mean, it really is specific to the property. So if it's multiple offer, you're typically seeing highest and best. Mm-hmm. If it's not, you are seeing counters, and you are seeing the back and forth of negotiating between the properties. And that is going to come back. That is going, like, no question about it. We are going to go into a market where negotiating counter offers and rejection offers are going to come back. So just always be prepared for a counter offer and have your buyers prepared for that.
So let's talk about nitpicking then, and because we brought that up a lot today. So when is it a good idea to counter as a seller, and when isn't it right now?
Well, again, if they have multiple offers, it's going to be this. So I've seen many situations, and some of you on here could have seen the same thing. A seller might say, you know what? I just want to accept this offer because I want to accept it. I don't care about the higher price. I don't care about this, that, or whatever. I'm taking this offer and this offer only. I mean, I just came into a situation myself. I saw a house that I wanted to go look at personally. And I contacted the agent before it even went live on MLS and said, I want to get in this house, like get me in this house. Set up an appointment to go see it on a Wednesday. On Tuesday, I got notified that the seller accepted another offer before showing it to other people. So that does happen. So the seller has the authority to pick one offer and not wait for all the other offers to come in. So one, I would prepare my clients for that, because that stinks, by the way. It really stinks. And I would also prepare them for this, it could be where you are the only offer, and we could be going back and forth. And what is it that you are looking for as an outcome? Because again, the client comes first.
And are we seeing it where sellers are asking buyers to, because my second house, they asked us to resubmit with different terms on a couple of very small things.
It will happen if it's not happening right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things was we needed our moving date to be very flexible because of a closing on a previous home. Right. So, and these people wanted to stay longer, but I was going to be homeless. So there was a lot of back and forth in my last home purchase. While we're not seeing it now.
Well, you know what, that's actually a really good point, because that is happening now. People don't have places to go until they buy, right? So a lot of rent backs are coming up in negotiations. A lot of, I'll let the seller stay in the house for a month, 2, 3 before they leave it. Has anybody seen that? That's happening a lot right now. And that's part of the negotiations, believe it or not. And that could get an offer accepted. If you put in your offer, I will allow the seller to stay in the property up to 3 months to locate a new property or to move, that could make the seller say, that's the buyer I want because I need that flexibility. Go ahead, William.
Yes. Jennifer, I had that happen where my client needed more time. And say she was paying like $1,000, but now the buyer, her note is $2,000. So, I got to go back to my client and say, yeah, you can lease this back, but at the rate of the buyer. Luckily, we were able to work it out and it didn't go through. But that's a big thing.
Well, buyers right now are willing to close on the property and not charge the seller the rent because they want the property so bad. Does that make sense, guys? Like they're literally negotiating rent free for the seller as part of their conditions to get their offer accepted.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's, again, going back to your point, Brooke, it's, talking with the agents in your office and what they're doing, how they're handling it, what they're seeing, what has been their biggest challenge, how have they won offers. Go talk to your agents in your market center. That's one of the benefits of Keller Williams. We have so many amazing agents within our ecosystem that could assist you at that time of, oh my goodness, I'm in this situation. What do I do next? You could always raise your hand and there'll be a flock of people to be able to help you know what the next step is. Right, Jose?
I agree. And you know what? Let's bring up masterminds. So I had an agent at a class yesterday say to me, well, why would I, as a brand new agent, go to a mastermind? And I say, this is exactly where you should be. This is where agents are discussing what's going on in the market of now at all times. Masterminds are for everyone, no matter what your level is. And in these masterminds, if you're not ready to speak yet, you can absorb and listen to what the top agents are doing. But even bigger than that, Jen and I just led a mastermind for a very specific level. They're saying the same things newer agents are saying. They're fighting the same fights you guys are. And I think it's really important for newer agents to hear that.
Well, it's part of your tool belt. You have the tools right on your belt that you get as soon as you come on to Keller Williams. Ignite is one of your tool belts. Experienced agents and the agents in your market center are another one. Like we are all here to support you, your businesses, and these strategies and situations and scenarios. There is a gamut of experience within your market center and here on Ignite. So use us as your resources as you're navigating through this business, because you know what? The reality is this business is not easy and it's changing daily. Like we said before, it's changing daily. And what I knew 20 years ago is not the same as what it is today. It's completely different. And I stay in learning days, and I learn from you guys on here as well. That's why I like to teach, because I learn.
So Jen, what you're saying is, if you don't know how to do something, you should ask.
That's
Never
right.
assume, right? Never.
That's right, Jose.
Thank you.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that our top agents continue to do. If you've ever sat back and wondered, why is the top agent in our office sitting in a lab, a tech class, a mastermind? It's because they stay learning based. I'm in constant classes. Jen is. We are constantly learning ourselves. It's why Ignite will be rewritten probably 30 times in my lifetime with KW. It's for the market of the now, and it's giving you the skills and the baseline tools, like Jen was saying, in your tool belt that you need. And one of those things are the dialogues, the scripting. We laugh and we joke that people jump off because it makes them uncomfortable. But practice on one another and not your client. Practice with the people in your office, your leadership, your family. My poor children can overcome an objection any day because I practice on them and not the clients, right? I don't want to lose a deal because I was unwilling to participate in something because it made me uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable, because growth comes from that. Like I said, make friends and Ignite. find a role play partner that's not in your market, because, or your market center, or who's a friend, because they're going to give you the nitty gritty truth about what you're saying, right? My husband would never put me down during a role play because he's scared of what I'd say back, right? And right, like because he loves me, he doesn't want to hurt my feelings. Find a script practice pal. Practice these. I'm looking at page 20 and 21 in the Elemental script book, and everything we've talked about today, it's in there. The objection handlers, what to say. And these things are just going to make you guys so much better. And it sounds weird, right? And it sounds funny the first time you say it, because we don't want to sound like a used car salesman. But internalize them, but do not rip them apart 100%. These are written by people who are masters at this craft. Masters at this craft. And it'll get to a point where somebody will ask you a question and you whip off that answer, and then you turn around and you go, oh my God, I'm a professional. I'm a professional. I did it. Like I did it. So practice on each other, practice on your market centers, and not on your clients.
Can I ask what Masterminds is? Is that a particular class that you offer, or?
So it's a couple different things. It is a class. So if you are in the region, you get emails from us. I know you get a lot from us. But if you just type the word Masterminds into your Gmail inbox, I am sure you're going to see that many of us were invited to a bunch. It's also the term we use it's like think tank, if you will. It's a way for agents to just discuss topics.
We've actually been doing it all day today, by the way.
This is a mastermind. Yeah.
This is what we do. We have a discussion around the relevant topic of today. And all day, Stephen, we've been masterminding. And what it is we just get into a room, whether it be in person or digital. We throw out basically what keeps us up at night or what we need to know in the now. And we mastermind around it because we know people in that room are doing it at a high level, and they're having high level challenges along with high level wins. And we throw all of them out there and we come up with solutions together. And we're better when we leave there. That's what a mastermind truly is. It's truly the meeting of the minds, masterminding and solving solutions, or coming up with solutions to the issues.
So a real estate think tank.
That's right. It's like a think tank, and I love it because remember, just because someone's a top agent and they're at our market center doesn't mean they came to us and have the same base level toolkits. Maybe they didn't go through Ignite. Maybe they are newly here with us. They're going to hear things from newer agents as well that also remind them to go back to models and systems that we tend to get away from sometimes as we get busy. So one of the great things about masterminds is it recenters us and it refocuses us on what is really important in this world. And it's one, not recreating the wheel, not fighting the systems and models, but working within those, right? Don't get creative. You can get creative once you master those models. Then from there, you can find out what other agents are doing. And if they fit or if they feel good, run with them. The other thing is take one thing and do it. No matter what it is in this world that you're learning with us at KW, it's for naught if you don't deploy the information into everyday practice in your business, right? Take something today, and Jen and I are going to go into ahas, but we're going to ask you to go deeper today. And I want you to think back to all the things from today, but in Ignite in general. And what is the one thing you guys should be doing in your careers here? So take what we're teaching you and get 1% better every day with it. There's no way you can implement everything you learn every single day at Keller Williams, because you would be nothing but a professional student here, right? You've got to take these things and put them in your business. Small things. So does everybody have those script books or know where to find them? Because if not, I'm going to pop the information back up and make sure you guys have it. Let me get it.
So Brooke, we're going right into ahas, I take it?
Oh, yep, because so let's do our ahas. I'm not going to share the screen because I like seeing your faces. So more than ahas from today. So let's start with aha. What was something that you If you've been here a while, or you just, it light bulb moment for you. And I just put those resources in, and please, not everybody at once. You're overwhelming me. So let's throw some ahas out there slowly at me, because I'm not 100% caffeinated.
That's not true. You've had 5 cups already.
Listen, and you seem to be really worried about my popcorn consumption on calls as well. This is decaf.
All right, let's hear a couple of ahas from today. Let us know that we at least gave you some sort of value from the last few hours of your morning. So shoot some stuff out. And the reason we do ahas, guys, just so you know, is because when you say it out loud, it solidifies that you learned what you learned today, and you put it into action. So just so you know, there's a rhythm to the madness of why we do ahas here at Keller Williams. Go ahead, Eric. Thank you for being our first.
Yeah, no, a couple of things kind of jumped out at me. I mean, obviously, everything you've covered today was well received. So thank both of you ladies for taking time out of your day to do this. And I've been on your growth calls as well. And thank you also for doing that. That's an amazing resource that you guys continue to put out there. And so I want to, recognize that you do that and others can benefit, including myself. So thank you
for the support in that. We really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. I realize sometimes you guys can be the unsung heroes as with, like our tech director does a lot of things, and sometimes there's a lot of people and sometimes there's a few, but it's important that you guys know that even if it's one person in this class, you're helping that person. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
But the things that jumped out at me, to be specific, was one, I like that you continually throughout the today's material emphasize the importance of communication. Communication with your buyers, with your sellers, but also with the other agent. I think that's good. Good to always keep in your mind. Is that always be talking to people? Basically, is the moral of the story. I mean, talk to the lenders, talk to the listing agent, talk to your buyer. Always make sure that you're communicating everything so that things don't slip through the cracks. And then I loved your verbiage, Jennifer, where it would be unprofessional of me to fill in the blank. I mean, that's perfect for so many situations. So that's definitely something I'm going to be taking out of this and using much. So those were my 2 ahas.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, that somebody told me that a really long time ago, and it really did just stick with me. And it has helped me so many different times with explaining a situation. So thank you for sharing that, Eric.
I'll give a couple ahas. Okay, I concur with that would be unprofessional of me. That came to mind too. But I wrote down in more than one place your B's. Be prepared, be documented, be professional, and be proactive. And also the point of always communicating back, even if you're turning down an offer, communicating back and keeping up good relationships with other agents. Communicate with them and treat them how you'd want to be treated.
I thank you for sharing that, Stephen, because you know what, here's the thing. We are not going to always be treated the best in this business, and we can't control that side. But what we can control is the way that we treat others. And by being proactive with that and knowing that, you want to be that professional that is known for your communication and your responsiveness goes a long way, by the way, goes a long, long way, because when you then have a listing or another buyer and that agent sees it's your name, it's a different conversation rather than if there was no communication had. So thank you so much for saying that and bringing that up again as a aha, because I think that's so important in our industry. We could control how we respond. We can't control others.
Yeah, reputation. That's reputation. That's how you build such a great representation of yourself and for your clients, right? If your name comes up in an offer, we don't want the other side to go, oh, I don't want to work with this person, right? It's win-win across the board. Who else has got an aha from today? I saw a couple people come off and mute.
I came off of mute, and I want to before they jump in, I'm just going to quickly say before it's lost, there are 23 people left on this call, 21, not including Brooke and I. If you guys don't know each other, don't know where your market centers are from each other, or haven't networked with each other yet in Ignite, this is a huge opportunity for you guys to connect and be a source for each other and be a core group of agents that are building businesses together. I will tell you, Ignite is one of the courses that truly helps agents come together, have that momentum, and have a mastermind of agents together that have started together or are in classes together that grow together. So please use this time to network with each other. I promise you there are referrals and money, just like there's money here in this room. I know it because I live in Rhode Island, and if there is anyone in New Hampshire here, I know I'm looking for a property in New Hampshire. I know others are as well. So this is a huge opportunity for you guys to network with each other and really form a tribe, really form a circle of camaraderie and momentum with each other. So use that. Okay, I'll get off of that and go back to AHAs.
Minnie, who is off of mute?
Well, can I say something about that? What's happening right now, it's a very difficult market because we have too many people looking for houses, and it's too much competition. So it's very important that you keep always in touch with the listing agent or the buyer agent. And also sometimes when you need some information and you can find that agent, you call, you text, and you get no answer, it's really disappointed too. So communication is very important. And I think this is my big aha here today. And also learning, we learn every day. So don't assume, always ask if you don't know, and that's the best thing you can do. That's what I think.
Thank you, Jose.
You're welcome, Jen. You always help me, always. Your door is always open. So I really enjoy working with you.
Don't tell everyone, but you're one of my favorites. So he's in my market center, so I can say that. All right, Ashley, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what he said, I think that I think for the most part, we were talking a lot in Ignite about how it's important to communicate with our clients, potential clients and stuff. But I think today, you guys really focused on talking not only with our clients, but with, co-brokers and, the seller, the other side of the transaction, and just, always keeping in contact with them because of how, fast everything is moving, but not only them, but also with the lenders, because my last closing we were working with a lender with Bank of America, and we closed like a month after we thought we would, just because it was really difficult to get him on the phone. There was a lot of confusion and he was not like easily reachable. So I think it's really important to be able to contact and communicate with everyone who's playing a role in the transaction.
Thank you so much for adding that. And I'll make a key point. If you don't have 3 lenders that you could call right now and they'll pick up, make it your goal this week to call 3 lenders in your area and have them take you out for coffee. You'll ask them for coffee, but let me tell you something, they'll pay for your coffee and whatever else you want there because they want the relationship with you. So if you don't have that in your tool belt right now, add that to your tool belt. 3 lenders in your area that are influential, that will pick up their phone right now, add them to your tool belt. Thank you, Ashley, for including that. Anyone else?
Yeah.
We're not going to get off of this call without talking about the daily 10-4. So Brooke, we're not getting off.
I won't. I know the rules. All
right. Henry, go ahead.
Yeah. My how is communicate professionally and build relationships with everyone that you cross paths with. Doesn't matter, lenders, inspectors, doesn't matter, because we're gonna cross paths with everybody. And the biggest one is no assumptions. No assumptions. Find facts, find the data, and just show the facts and data.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I think we're going to get you out of here before 12 o'clock today. And before we do, the most important piece of Ignite is something we're going to go over now. So the 21 of you left on this call are going to get the gold of what Ignite is all about. It's important to stay on this call for this piece. If you learned anything so far in Ignite, this is it. This is how you grow your business consistently, and it's almost guaranteed. It's a statistic that if you do this every day, Monday through Friday, your business will grow and you will become a capper. Do you guys know what I mean by a capper? Anybody not know what that means? I want to make sure that we're clear, because Keller Williams has so many terms and phrases and dialogues. Sometimes we're not sure and clear on what they mean. A capper means, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, does it mean you'll meet your cap for that year?
Right, so that means that you will exceed the amount of money owed to your market center during your period of capping. So what that means is if your market center is a $20,000 cap, you are doing over $2.5 million in sales volume typically to meet that cap, and you are now 100%, you are making 100% of your commission. The goal for Ignite is to get you there as quickly as possible. How that happens is what's on the screen right here. So if you haven't heard this yet or haven't mastered this yet, please hear me, please. Add this to your daily business every day, Monday through Friday. This should be your job. Remember, anybody else had a job before real estate?
Yep.
Like a job, you know, like one of those things where you had to like check in, do a task, leave at a certain time, work for somebody else. Anybody? Right? Okay. So we remember what that was like. And what we did was we showed up when we were told to show up. We did what we were told to do, and we left at the time we were told to leave. Well, the problem with real estate is we don't have anybody holding us accountable to that. And we like to, as the CEO of our own company, we like to give ourselves a lot of days off and a lot of leeway of not doing what we should be doing, which is crazy to me, because if you just did what an employer told you to do, you would do it. So I'm going to act as your employer. Please make this your daily task where you are checking in at, let's say, 12 o'clock today, and you could check out by 2 o'clock. As long as you add 10 contacts to your database. You talk to 10 people about real estate today. You go to the coffee shop after we get off of the call today, go get lunch after we get off the call today, and talk to 10 people about real estate. Just 10 people. Trust me, everybody's talking about it. They're either talking about the interest rates rising, what gas is doing to our economy, or what equity they have in their property. Go talk to people about real estate. Write 10 notes. And it's as simple as, it was so nice to talk to you today about real estate. If you ever have questions about the equity in your property, please don't hesitate to reach out. 10 note cards a day. And the last thing is to know your market. Preview the 10 homes that come on for that week. There could be 10 homes. Preview the properties that are coming on the market and know them. Because here's the thing, when you're able to have a conversation with somebody and they say, hey Maureen, how is the market? Instead of Maureen just saying, oh, it's crazy out there, Maureen could respond by saying, oh, there's actually 2 listings that came on in our town today, and I just checked and they're pending. Isn't that crazy? But we also have 10 other pendings in the area, and 5 sold this week. All in the price range under or between $1 million or 500 to 750. Know what you're talking about in your market. Because when you're able to respond to somebody about real estate in that way, how do they look at you? I'll respond to that. They look at you as a real estate professional that knows their market and that they could trust to respond to them with accurate information to them about what's going on. Know your numbers. So I'm going to review that again really quickly. What's the first 10? Somebody help me out. Add
contacts.
Thank you. Add 10 contacts to your database every day, Monday through Friday. You don't know who to add, go through your vendors. Trust me, there's enough to let you go through that for a long time. Start with the A's, go to the Z's. Open your phone, add it to your contact database. You got plenty, trust me. Add 10 a day. 10 conversations about real estate a day. That's back and forth conversation. It could be a text message. It could be a Facebook message. It could be a face-to-face message or conversation. 10 conversations a day, 10 note cards a day. It was great talking to you today. Thank you so much. If you know anybody that is looking to buy, sell, invest, or rent in real estate, please have them call me. Please give them my contact information. 10 note cards, 10 properties to know your market. What questions you guys have around that? All right, I'm going to give you one last script and then we're going to sign off for the day. My one last script is if I am calling my 10 a day and it's just through my phone, I'm calling saying this. Hey, Brooke, it's Jen. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Jen?
I am doing very well. Hey, listen, Brooke, it's really quick. This is just a quick business call. I wanted to let you know that I've made it a goal to help 24 families buy, sell, invest, or rent in real estate this year. And I was wondering if you knew anybody that was in that market.
Actually, I'm in that market, I think, right now.
Well, Brooke, let's have that conversation.
I would love to.
Okay. That's it, guys. That's it. I'm calling my database, letting them know that my goal is to help a certain amount of people buy, sell, invest, or rent in real estate this year. That's it. It does not have to be a complicated script, complicated call, or complicated text. Sometimes we get in our own way of thinking, what am I going to say? I don't know enough to reply, to hold us back from business. If you could just remember that you are an employee of those 4 things, your business will grow to the extent that you do. Your income will grow to the extent that you do. Your knowledge will grow to the extent that you do. You get that? So guys, that's all I'm going to say, and we're going to sign off. But please be the employee, and be your #1 employee. Don't fire yourself. Don't fire yourself. That's all you got to do to have a successful business. Brooke, how do you want to end off here?
Guys, continue to pour into yourselves. We love pouring into you and helping you grow bigger businesses. And it's so individualized to each of you, and all your paths are going to be very different. If you need anything, please reach out to us. I'm going to put my email and Jen's email. I have a website that's full of a ton of information for you guys. Lead gen calculators, Ignite tool, you name it, it's there. And if you don't see it and you need it, just let us know. Join us on the growth call. Join us on the Thursday tech calls. And we can't wait to see you at future events.
Thank you all for staying with us this morning, and have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you Monday afternoon on our growth call.
Thank you, Jen and Brooke. Good job. Good job, both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jen, I have one more question for you, Jen, if you have a second, maybe after class or something.
Yeah, sure thing.
I don't want to hold the class up, but I'm a Rhode Island licensed realtor as well. I haven't done any transactions down there, but I had a brief question. My market center hasn't answered it in 3 days, so I'm just kind of chomping at the bit. I got a form in the mail, Rhode Island Real Estate Licensee Errors and Omissions Program. It's an application. And I asked my market center if my E&O from Keller Williams covers that, or do I need to actually fill this enrollment form out and apply directly to this RISC? Sorry.
It's my understanding that you do not have to. That's just basically a, I don't know, junk mail for better. I don't know, for better.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just confirm it again, like just get that confirmation from your market center. But it's my understanding that if your market center does have a license in Rhode Island and they have E&O, you are covered under the E&O for the blanket policy.
Oh, that's great news. Thanks so much.
Stephen, I just want to throw this in there too, because we got communication from our market center yesterday about some sort of scam going around where people are posing as, I think, NAR, and they're trying to sell people insurance and basically, bilk them for their credit card, whatever. So just know that that's kind of out there too. So always following up with your market center.
Yeah, okay. Scams are just so prevalent right now. It's awful. So always double guess it. Always. I would always question everything that comes through, even if it could be legit. So.
I figured. Thank you so much for your input. I appreciate it. And for today.
Of course. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a great day.